Hi everybody, welcome back to the Desmond Works channel, and as promised I am back on the videos. So in the update video that I last gave out a couple of weeks ago, by the time that you're watching this, we talked about the fact that I just need to finish the last little job on this and give it a tidy over, because my intention is to sell it on for somebody else to do as a project, because I'd rather just focus on my Ducatis than a pure race bike, which I probably won't ever really get to use in anger. So, and I can't really warrant keeping hold of it because it just feels like a waste. So I think the last time I ever spoke about my Honda RS250 NX5 1999 model, we'd been racing it in 2019, and I had some issues with it cutting out that turned out to be a spark plug. The electrode on it was cracked at the very end, and as it was getting hot it was bending away, and when I tried to adjust it, it just fell away. So got a new set of plugs that I need to put back in. I just need to give the bike a good check over, just take the bowls off the carburetors and give those a good clean through, and then it's just general wipe down and clean over. There's a couple of bits and pieces that just need tidying up on it. So the exhausts are not stainless, so they've got a little bit of surface corrosion on them, so I want to get those cleaned up. But the main thing is just to make sure that everything's bolted together and properly ready to go for whoever purchases the bike. So a quick run through of the bike before I strip it down. So my Honda RS250, starting from the front end, we've got carbon front mudguard, Behringer discs, Behringer calipers. We've got quick release Hell brake lines that go up to a Brembo master cylinder because I prefer the feel on that. WP front forks, which are holding standard magnesium wheels. I think these are Mavic actually, not standard, so I stand corrected. These are Superbike spec forks, so they're actually a bit thicker than the ones that you would get on the 250s. That means I've got a custom top yoke, standard throttle. Electronics wise, you'll notice it's got a deck counter. I do have the full data logging set up for the bike, but they're a little bit fragile, and there's not any spares for them, so I've taken it off and taken all the wiring out of it as well. So just running the deck counter because that helps you tune the bike. Carbon front fairing and lower fairing. We've got a carbon tank as well. Carbon fibre increased volume airbox, hence why the loom goes around the outside. Normally there's a cutout in here where the loom would go through. And we've got a carbon fibre seat unit. Got Battle rear sets and Öhlins rear shock. You can see the linkage for the data login sensor for the rear suspension that's normally fitted. It's a standard set of pipes, but they've been cleaned back to bare metal, but there's a little bit of light corrosion on those. Then some aftermarket silencers, not sure who makes them, quite large at the rear end. And then standard sort of thing, Renthal rear sprocket and a shark's fin, and then another magnesium wheel at the rear. On this side of the bike, got the dry clutch system, and we've also got the Battle quick shifter, which again is attached to the Battle rear sets. And then I've got a small battery box for running the rain light separately to the bike's electrical systems, so it reduces any risk of it messing around with the bike's ignition system. And that's just literally a on-off switch, which with the rear seat unit off has been disconnected. And then you can see the rear seat support unit with the ECU mounted under there. I don't have the tray that covers that, which is a bit of a shame. And then you can just see there some historical damage. Looks at some point that the previous owners crashed the bike and had the seat support welded back on. And again you can just see the surface corrosion on the non-stainless exhausts. Not sure of the make of this steering damper, but it's okay. And there's the Battle Quick Shifter control box and the snake's wedding of wiring that goes into the back of the clocks, and you can see where I've had the full data logging set up. It usually has the shift light and the detonation light per cylinder. What's my plan is to get rid of the fairings, just take those all off so that I can get down to the bare bike. Then I'm going to remove the carburetors, and then I'll disassemble the bowls just to check if there's any sort of film build up, give them a blast through with carb cleaner, or I might even actually put them into the ultrasonic cleaner with carb cleaner and just let them sit for a little bit. I then have got to bolt up, or sorry, I'm going to take off the VHM heads and cylinders, have just a check through, give it a light spray or a run through with some 2-stroke oil just to put it back together, and then it should be good to bolt that back together, put the carbs back in, connect all the throttles etc. up, and then give it a good clean and check over just to make sure there's no issues. I will be removing the exhaust just so I can give those a rub down and just clean up of the surface corrosion so that they're good to go. And the aim is that I'm just going to sell it as a project. I don't have the time or the inclination to really want to restore this. The view was that it was going to be a race bike for me. It wasn't going to be a garage queen. I'll let whoever's going to be the next owner decide onto the level of work that they wish to do on the bike. Right, so first things first then. Let's get all the carbon fairings off and let's see what she looks like naked, basically. Okay, there we go, naked Grand Prix bike. Now, I think the engine was a little bit more special back in its day. It's got a gear position indicator that wasn't connected to the data logger when I got hold of it, so it evidently had a bit more kit on it than I've received it with, but all told, not bad. Knocks and scrapes. I did a lot of work to straighten all the fins out when I first got it on the radiator, so that's all good. And this is the larger volume airbox, so I need to get these carburetors out of here, which is my next job to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unclamp these. Now that is some clamps that sit down in the deep dark reaches of the airbox on each carb. I just need to do those and then pop it up. So let's do that. I also need to disconnect them from the looms because they're Power Jet Carbs, so they've got an electrical connection as well. So I'm going to have to pull the throttle cable through as well. Right, first things first, let's disconnect the Power Jet Carbs. Okay, so they're all disconnected. Let's grab a Phillips screwdriver and undo the carburetor clamps and lift them out. Okay, next thing to do to get out the airbox, I just need to get rid of the spark plug, which is loose from where I diagnosed it, so it should just be able to unscrew this I just put it back in to stop any ingress while it was sat. Can't remember if that was the damaged. No, it's not the damaged one, that's the good one. So let's just put that to one side. Okay, the airbox should lift out now. You'll see that there's some foam inserts around the intake manifolds, so when I start pulling that up it will just come away from it. I'm just going to put the camera down in a better angle so you can see this coming away. Okay, you can now see with the airbox off, got the replated cylinders that I had in, VHM heads. I've just loosely placed that back in there. You can see I've also got, there's a deck counter, is that funny little bit of wire that goes around the spark plug. Just counts how many, for the 4-stroke riders I should say, that counts how many detonations are going on in the cylinder. The leaner you can run the engine, the more power it makes, but the leaner you run the engine, the more there's detonation as well. So there's a balancing act to get optimum power out of a 2-stroke. So I'm pretty sure that this was all left loose. I'll grab spanners and just quickly check. I can't remember if I torqued this all up and left it in a position ready to go with the new cylinders, because it's been that long, new spark plugs, because it's been that long since I've touched the bike. You know, you're talking a good couple of years. I'm just going to get something just to cover the inlets so I don't risk any damage. Okay, here's the lower cylinder. I think this is the spark plug that was the one that had damaged and was causing me all the problems. Yeah, let's just take this off of there. I'll try and do this one-handed, apologies. Yeah, so this is the one where when I was checking the spark plug gap, the electrode tang just broke off, so it evidently been the problem. Now these have a longer threaded area because they go with the deck counter, so I've got some brand new ones of these to put back in when we put this back together. So I'm just going to leave that there for now, and I will pop off the other one again. Just get that down there. Okay, there we go. I mean, I'll give it as a spare, but be a brave person to reuse that. Okay, so now we've got down to the barrels and the heads. I'm pretty sure I tightened this all up when I put it all back together, and it was just the spark plugs that I'm waiting on. So I'm just going to quickly check if these are torqued down or not. If they're not, I'll probably just lift everything off just to have a double check, but I'm pretty sure that I put this back together properly and was just, as I said, waiting on the new spark plugs. So let me just position the camera and we'll do a quick torque check on them. Right, so those head bolts should be 12 Newton meters. Yeah. Okay, so I had done them up fully, so I'm not going to pop those off on that one. What I figured I'd do is I'd take this one off, because hopefully I can get a good view to show you the inside of the barrels. So let me just pop that one off. We'll just move out the det lead and the spark plug lead out of the way. And I'll just get this little water pipe off, and then we'll take the head off, and hopefully, because I can position the camera, I can shine in a torch and just show you the setup inside the cylinders. Okay, let's take this head off. Okay, so while I've quickly got the cylinder head off, you can see transfer and intake ports go round the circumference of the cylinder, and then you've got the exhaust port, and you can just make out in there the exhaust valves open and close at different revs to give the maximum power. And then you can see that we've got a det ring on these cylinders, so slightly harder material, and then it's only sealed by 2 O-rings, one of which came off with the head and the other that sat there, and then these are the cooling ports. And I had a little bit of water sat in there, so I had a little bit of oxidization that had just built up on the outside of the head. And this is a 2-piece head, so you've got the anodized water jacket, and then this is the combustion chamber. Little inserts are used on VHM heads, so that would normally sit in there like so, and then would be bolted on to the engine. Now I'm not going to put in new seals because obviously any new owner is going to want to set this bike up themselves. I'm just going to use the existing ones because I'm not going to be running it like this. So I'm just going to pop that head back on now, as I know that it's been torqued down correctly. So I'll put this one on, torque this one down so it's in the correct position, and then we're good to just put the engine together as is. And then I'm just going to remove the exhaust for a clean because, as I said earlier in the video, they're quite rusty. O-rings are back in. "12 Newton meters. Okay, that's that head put back on. Now if you remember, it was these that I had to replace that was the start of all the problems, and I got some brand new R7282A's 105s. So let's get these put back in. Washer and a det plug. Tightens to 18 Newton meters. Back in. Going to put this one in loosely because I'm going to need to possibly remove it to get the airbox back on. Stick that in there. There we go, just leave that loose for now. Okay, let's pop the exhausts off so I can give them a clean down because they're rather scabby. So I've just got to pull off 2 spring clips there and then undo a bolt. Might be easier for me just to undo the nut that's on the back end, just so I don't have to disassemble the shift linkage. Right, vertical cylinder is across here. Now all I've got to do is undo this bolt here on the vertical cylinder and I'll be able to drop that away. Let me just go get Allen key and a 10mm spanner to hold the back. Okay, so hopefully this can pick up. Just got a bit of light surface corrosion where it's just been sat for a little while without being run or cleaned. So off camera it'll just be a case of a bit of wet and dry, bit of WD-40, give it all a clean down and just bring it back to a clean state. Right, as I'm done in here, I'm just going to stick the airbox back in because there's nothing else I need to do in this part of the engine because it's all clean and ready to put back together. I don't have any massive cleaning that I want to do inside the frame, and it just means I'm not leaving this quite expensive carbon airbox lying around. So I'm just going to offer that up and put it in so it's out of my way. I haven't put this bit in yet because obviously I need to fit it over there, but more importantly I need to get the carbs in first, then put this in because the throttle cables sit on the top there. So I'm just going to leave that lying loose there, but it just means that airbox is out of the way now. I've put a new vent plug into the water pump body just so it's easily distinguishable, because I have snapped a fair few of these. Because all the bolts on here are aluminium, by the way, so that just means that I know what position I'm in if I need to bleed the system. Right, so let me just clean these exhausts off camera. Just as a little heads up, exhausts are all cleaned up and freshened up, got rid of the light surface corrosion, and they're back on the bike and looking shiny as well. Okay, so had a rethink on the carburetors, as they look pretty clean, and I've never used the cleaning fluid that comes with the sonic cleaner, so I don't really want to run the risk of damaging the finish on the carbs or doing them any damage, because it's so hard to get hold of now. So I'm just going to do a normal clean with carburetor cleaner, so some just normal carb cleaner. I'll drop the bowls off, check we've not got no dirt build up in there from any sort of lingering fuel, and I'll blow through all the jets, because actually the carbs look pretty clean. So let me grab something to just drop them into, and then okay, so it's only a case of taking off the screws on the bottom of the bowls, drop them off, and then we'll give it a good clean through. Okay, pretty clean. Little bit of oil left over from last time of use. I've just taken the seals off quickly so I don't damage those, because I'm just going to I've got some spare ones, but as I said, I'm just going to leave everything for the new owner to change over, because it's just good practice for them to put new seals on when they go to use it. Otherwise it's just going to be a garage queen. So let's clean this off with a spray. Okay, so that's them just clean through. Gloves on, because this stuff's really crappy to your hands, but everything's nice and clean. Like I say, it just leaves it in a nice condition for if it's going to be sat for a while. It's at least not sat there with oil and residue fuel in there. So I'm just going to put this back together now. Okay, so light clean over, really in nice condition, nice and clean. Little bit of build up inside, cleaned out with a carb cleaner. Slides are nice and free and easy to move, so no problems on there. So let's put these back on the bike. Now to get the carbs in, I need to just get the clamps, stick them in, and then we'll push the carbs in. We need to feed the throttle cable back through the hole in the front of the airbox up to obviously the throttle, and reconnect it all. Okay, so let's do that. the right hand carburettor, number 1 the left hand. This fuel connector for here, but I'm going to leave it unconnected as the bike's got no fuel in it. Fuel tank secures via the strap, and then put the airbox cover back on. Okay, all I need to do now, throttle cable into the throttle housing. Okay, throttle is now all connected and works. Okay, I've just left this loose at the moment because when I put the fairing on, it usually fouls somewhere, so I just want to make sure that I can easily adjust it. So this is quite a bulky throttle housing, the standard sort of RS1, so I'll have to play around with that to make sure I get it in the right place. So that's the majority of the work done. Just got to give it a quick tidy up and general blow through and clean of everything, and tidy up some of the tie wraps and bits and pieces, and get the bodywork back on, and it's done. It's a bit dusty, so let's get something to give it a good clean with. I'll just don't know which way round that was originally. I think it might have been that way for the air. Yeah, I think that's the way that I had that rigged beforehand. So I just need to wire lock that in place as well. As it's only going to be cleaning, I'm going to do that off camera, and then I will come back to you guys when it's time to put the bodywork back on. Okay, that's the bike clean. Wheels nice and white again, giving all the aluminium a wipe down. Try to clear off as much of the dust and that. I used like a rapid detailing spray for the carbon fibre bits, and then brake and clutch cleaner for the aluminium, just to get that done. Right, let's get the other bodywork on, and then I can give that a wipe down as well. There we go. RS250 cleaned up, quickly checked over to make sure everything was all good. And here's the bit that I don't really know what to do about it now. So I started off the video saying I'd like to clean it up and get rid of it. I don't know. I might put it up for sale as is and see what happens, see if I can get what I'm after for it. If not, I might completely strip it down and refresh it, clean it right back and do a full-on proper restoration on it. But I really haven't made up my mind on what to do with it, so we'll have to see. I'm certainly never going to race it. I might do a track day if I keep it. We'll have to see, but I mean, it's a really good bike, and it feels a shame just to have it sort of sat around gathering dust. But there's also a little bit of me that says it'd be kind of cool to do it up and keep it as well. But I don't know. let me know in the comments what you think I should do with it, whether I should keep it and restore it, or just offload it and just concentrate on the Ducatis and other bits and pieces I'm going to be doing. Be interested to know your thoughts. There we go, Honda RS250 done and dusted. Looks like I had it left in a better state than I thought I had. I had bolted it all together, but it made sense to check it because it's been sat for such a long time without me paying any attention to it. But that's a quick go over on the bike. Everything looks good, carbs have been cleaned, new plugs are in following the issue that we had when I last took it out on track where it was blown the plug. As I said in the video, don't really know what to do with that bike now, whether I will sell it. I will make an effort to sell it, I think, or whether I restore it, but we'll see how that one pans out. Next video will be a service on the Ducati ST2 because it's been on the road for over a year now. I need to do a belt tension check on it because it's done about 600 miles. I need to sort out the leak that's coming from the radiator, which I think is from the filler cap area, so I'm hoping that I could just braze that, and then just a really good check over on it, and probably change the oil, etc, etc. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, chuck us a like. Any questions or comments, stick them down below. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers then, bye.